Welcome to Truckee Talks. I'm Maia Schneider. On today's show, we have a little bit of a different twist on the topic. We're going to be talking about body art. Since man has recorded time, they've had tattoos, whether it was to mark tribal cultures or as recently as when Marine sailors had tattoos on their burly arms to show their manhood. Well, there are different kinds of body art right now, and tattooing is sort of experiencing a renaissance or revival in its popularity. On today's show, we're going to be talking about different types of body art, and to start off with, we're going to be talking about permanent cosmetics, which is a whole new world in the world of tattooing. Our first guest on the show today is Melody Meng, owner of Atraction. And Melody, it is a delight to have you here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Melody, it wasn't that long ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that you first introduced me to the idea of permanent cosmetics. Can you tell us a little about what that is?
Well, it is a tattoo, and it is implanting pigment under the skin, but it's in different areas than what has been common. It's eyeliner, so around the eye, eyebrow pigment, and lip color.
And how long have you been involved in doing this?
Almost 3 years.
How many people do you think you've treated over those 3 years or applied cosmetics to?
Oh, many, over 100.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about the experience that you need to have in order to do this. Are you trained to do this?
Yes, you are. You do training with a professional, and it's clinical training. You do work in their studio, as well as a lot of study work, book work with them. And then you continue your education by going to prominent people in the industry and doing apprenticeships with them.
Who might think about having permanent cosmetics?
I do a lot of athletes, because when they don't want to wear conventional cosmetics because they melt as they perspire, and just people who like to wear makeup and like to look good. Anyone who wants to look good would be a good candidate for permanent cosmetics. Well,
we have a different twist on today's show, because what we're actually going to be showing you is the application of permanent cosmetics on me. I got to be the guinea pig, and Melody applied permanent cosmetics to me, so we're going to be showing some clips of that and some video of the actual application. Before we do that, we should really show the before picture, which shows we did the application to my eyes, and so we have a close-up shot of me without makeup, cut me some slack here, and before the eyeliner was produced. So we'll put that on the screen and show that first store. Okay, that's enough of me without makeup. So, Melody, now we're going to get into the actual application, and I should say that a lot of things happened before I sat down with Melody and actually did this. Melody and I talked about the application, what it would involve. We discussed color choices, and we discussed really how much application I wanted. I think it must vary pretty widely between people.
Yes, it does.
So we sat down and had a pre-interview ahead of time before any of this actually ever happened. Melody, how many times do you think people come to you before they actually have the application done? How many conversations?
However many they need, and it differs for every person. But sometimes people have one conversation with me. Sometimes it's even over the phone. But sometimes they come in and see the studio, look at the paperwork they're going to need to fill out, and just find out everything they need to know about the procedure. But I will meet with people as many times as they need to feel comfortable about the procedure.
And that was certainly the case with me. I know that you and I talked about it for a number of years before I ever committed to doing it. I was scared. I was scared of the permanence of it, and I was also a little frightened of the actual process. So let's talk about the process now. Let's show our first video clip where Melody is introducing to me the different types of equipment that she used while we were doing the process. All right, well, we've been through some of the pre-procedure screening. We've done some of the paperwork, and you've taken my picture without any makeup. This is big time for me. And Melody, you've got a whole lot of implements out here that you're going to be using with me today. Can you tell us what some of these are?
Sure. I'll start on this side of the table. I have a couple of different topical numbers that I'll be using to help you to be a little more comfortable throughout the procedure. And then ice water, which I will use to remove excess pigment and again make you more comfortable. The ice water feels very good. This is my machine unassembled. This is a pen machine, is what it's called. And this is unassembled. When you put the needles in, then we'll put it together, and I'll show you that again. These are the pigments that I'll be using. And this is a pigment tray with cups in it, and I will put the pigment in those cups. This is a single-use eye wash. that I'll use throughout the procedure to keep any excess pigment off of your eye.
And back up a second if we can. Now the pigment is the actual color that you'll be applying.
That's right, which with you I chose the pigment. You wanted a black color, which I'll be using the black pigment, and I will also put a drop of orange in, because as a tattoo fades, it has a tendency, the black pigment has a tendency to go a little bluish, so the orange will help it to maintain its
But it won't
nice
look like
black.
Halloween until then.
You will not detect any orange in the pigment at all. And these are the needles that I'll be using. I'll be using 2 different needle groupings and the tip, and they all come sterile, packaged sterile, and they are disposable. So after this use, I put them in a sharps container and
They're gone, so they never get reused.
Never. I never reuse any of my needles. And this is the tip that goes on the end of the needle. So anything coming in contact with you is sterile and disposable, Maya. And then these are Q-tips that I'll be using to wash off the excess pigment. And Kleenex, of course.
In case you need to blow your nose.
I know.
All right. Well, this is exciting. I'm ready. Mel, you tell me if you're ready.
I'm ready. So I'll be starting by applying some topical number.
Okay.
And then you'll sit with that for about 10 minutes before we start the procedure.
Okay. You know, Mel, it was really comforting to me to sort of go through the equipment before you actually started the procedure. I expected on a tattoo needle, somehow I expected it to be this long and that you'd be coming at my eyes with it. But it was really helpful to see the equipment. You mentioned when, in that clip, you talked about not using some of the equipment more than once, or not using some of the needles
That's
more than
right.
once. How important is that?
That's very important. I use all disposable needles, and I always show my client the needle in its package before I work on them. So they always know every needle that is used on them is sterile and pre-packaged.
And that's it. Once you've used it, it's discarded, it's gone.
That's right.
And that's important for healing and for possible infection.
Yes, it's a safe way to do business.
Okay, all right. Well, our very next clip, and I have to give you a warning now, our very next clip we're going to be showing some very detailed and up-close camera work. Melody actually applying this permanent cosmetic to my eye, and there's no blood, but I would say that if this sort of thing might make you queasy, this might be a clip that you don't want to watch. But stay tuned, because you're going to see an actual tattoo or permanent cosmetics being applied to me by Melody. So that's our next clip. So Mel, you said you were mixing the pigments right now?
That's correct.
What are the pigments made out of?
Some contain iron oxide, but the pigments are synthetic. They are not organic, and no pigment is FDA approved as of yet.
In terms of safety and usage, though, is that really an issue, or how long have these pigments been used?
They've been around for many, many years, and it really isn't so much of an issue, because very few people have allergy problems to the pigments. There's little documentation even about allergic reactions to these pigments.
And how long can people expect, when you get a tattoo on your arm or your leg or what have you, you expect that that's a lifelong commitment. You've got that tattoo and it's forever. Is this eyeliner procedure the same?
It's best to think of it as permanent, because the pigment will be retained at different levels in different people. Some people will keep an eyeliner forever. Some people in a couple of years will have it touched up. Most likely, using these pigments, using this pen machine, in 3 to 5 years you would have this procedure touched up, because it fades. But it's always best to think of it as permanent, because it could very well be on you.
All right, we talked about the pigment, and I think, Melody, now's a good time to sort of go back and expand on that a little bit. My coloring, I generally ask for black eyeliner if I have my face made up. And I have to say that one of the reasons that this whole process really appealed to me is because I don't normally wear makeup. You may see me with makeup on the show, but generally if you see me walking down the street, I'm the sloppiest person in town. And that's one of the reasons this really appealed to me, is I didn't have to go and put makeup on every day. When somebody's choosing a pigment color, do you help them out with that process?
Absolutely. You have to take eye color, skin tone into consideration, and personal preference.
And then what about the fading? We talked about that a little bit in the clip, but really, how permanent is this permanent cosmetic?
It varies from person to person. It can be very permanent. Some people retain their pigment for many years. Other people, it tends to fade more. And generally, you will require a touch-up anywhere, from 2, 3 to 5 or 6 years. It just depends on the person, but generally speaking, it will fade and you will require a touch-up.
The colors fade then.
Right,
Okay.
right.
All right.
There's the occasional person that just hangs on to that pigment.
Just forever. and
Forever.
ever. Well, maybe I'll be one of the lucky few.
Right.
One of the reasons I say that is because when you think about this whole process, and you'll see this also in the next clip, it seems like, oh my God, this has got to be one of the most painful things you can undergo. And I have to say, for me personally, it was not that painful.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable. It's not something I would say was a lot of fun, but it was not painful. It really wasn't all that bad. And how do you prepare people for that, Melody? What should people expect when they come in?
Well, since everyone has a different threshold for pain, I never tell people that there's no pain involved, because that might be the person that felt it was painful. I do use some topical numbing agents, and they really help. And I'm very concerned about the comfort of the client. However, I do inform them that there will be some discomfort involved. But
So-
it's short term and it's worth it.
Be prepared for
Yeah,
it.
that's right,
But
that's
better
right.
than poking yourself in the eye with a mascara
Oh.
or an eyeliner stick,
Oh, yeah,
which is something we
yeah.
talk about as well. All right, well then let's take a look at our next video clip. And again, some graphics here. We'll be doing some close-up camera work on tattooing. So if this is the sort of thing that you wouldn't want to watch on TV, now's the time to go to the kitchen and grab your cookies and come back in just a minute. So we'll watch that video clip now.
There are some visual techniques or mind techniques that work when you need to relax. I'm trying to be on a beach right now in Mexico, but I've never felt this sensation while I've been lying on a beach in Mexico.
It's a good idea to use
that a
those
good
techniques.
close-up?
Well, it's not extremely painful. It's an unusual sensation, especially to have something vibrating at your eyelid.
And something that you know is sharp, and
Right.
you have to know that
You
it's
have
safe.
such a good hold on the eye that it would be very hard to get this machine in the eye.
That's good to know. You know, and Mel, the nice thing about this is that once it's done, I can go lay on a beach in Mexico and never have to worry about reapplying that liner.
That's right. It's a wonderful thing for athletes.
Who says athletics and cosmetics don't mix?
That's right.
You know, Melody, and that's a point that's really worth bringing up, is that, as you say, everybody is going to have a different experience on the level of pain or discomfort that they experience with this. And I'm sure that anybody that's ever had a tattoo anywhere else in their body can attest to that. This was not nearly as painful as I anticipated it would be. As I say, it was uncomfortable, but not painful. And for me, very worth it in that I can get up in the morning and go skiing, get up in the morning and go hiking, get up in the morning and go biking, and I'm not stopping to put on makeup, which always seemed a little silly to me in the first place, to put on makeup and go outside and do athletics. But I hate waking up in the morning and looking like a ghost, too.
Right. And your work is so subtle, Maia, that it doesn't appear that you even have makeup on. You just look better.
Yeah, it looks like I got some sleep the night before,
Right,
which
right.
which is a great thing.
Yeah, it can be applied so that it's just a very nice, subtle touch, and it doesn't appear that you have a lot of makeup on.
Well, that may be something that people in our audience might be thinking about, Melody. What about the person who says, you know, I always wear a lot of makeup and I just want you to put it on heavy?
Well, then I have them come in with their makeup applied exactly as they apply it. However, if someone is making a fashion statement, say doing a design line like a tail on the end of an eyeliner, I recommend that you don't put that on permanently, because a year from now that could be out of style.
And you may not want
Right.
it.
I would like to do work that enhances natural beauty. Any design work, fashion statements should be made just with regular makeup.
Okay, all right. Well, our very last video clip then really is a sort of a long clip, and it shows, again, more of the graphic tattooing and then some of the eye care and some of the recommendations that you make post-procedure. So let's roll into our last clip here on the eye tattooing.
One of the things I remember considering when you and I first started talking about this several years ago was eyeliner as a permanent tattoo. I thought, well, what if eyeliner goes out of fashion? But you look back over the last 100 years or even more of makeup that women have applied, the eyes are always played up.
Right, and as long as it's done in a subtle manner and just looks good, so it doesn't so much look like eyeliner, it just makes you look better, and looking good never goes out of fashion. But certain things like tails or super thick eyeliner, that will go out of fashion, and I prefer people add those touches themselves, just with regular eyeliner. Just get the basic upper and lower lid done in tattoo. I don't care to do any fashion lines like the tails or anything permanently.
And yet I can do that if I go out in the
That's
evening and
right.
I want to put more on, I just apply more over.
Maia, I'm applying a more topical number. The first topical number I put on penetrates the skin. And then once the skin is broken, then I can go back in with a liquid, which is a different type of topical number.
And that one, again, just a little bit of a sting.
Sting.
But this whole procedure, Melody, I'm surprised at how painless it really is.
Good.
You may have inspired me to do an entire arm. And what should I expect to see over the next few days? I know I can't apply makeup or any mascara.
Right, well, you'll keep your ointment on, and in a number of days you may see some little pigment flaking. But you want to, as long as you're keeping them really gooped up, you're not going to see a lot of flaking right away.
Okay.
But eventually you'll see some little flakes coming off, and don't be alarmed.
And don't mess with them either.
No, don't pick them and don't encourage them to come off. Let them
Okay.
come off naturally.
All right.
And you won't want to wash your face tonight, but tomorrow you can use a mild cleanser.
I hear that, Mom. I have an excuse.
You can use a mild cleanser and be sure and cleanse off the ointment and pat it dry and reapply.
Okay. What about hot tubs and swimming pools?
No, avoid those.
And for how
During the
long?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, stay out of chlorine altogether.
2 weeks, no hot tub?
And I send an aftercare form home with you, and that will give you all of that kind of information. And I also give you my home number. If you have any problems or questions, you're free to call me there. All hours.
Well, you have children keeping you up at all hours anyway, Melody.
All right, Maia, we are finished with the procedure, and I'm putting some cotton pads soaked in ice water on your eyes.
Feels good.
And I'll also put a little cube of ice on those so they stay cold. And we'll do this for about 5 minutes. You can use the corners of these towels if they drip.
Are you giving me ideas for Halloween this year, Mel?
Okay, Mel, you know, it was a good procedure for me, but more than that, I can say that the after effect has just been great. You'll notice in that last clip that my eyes were a little bit swollen, and just as a note to my audience, that went down the very next day. It looked that day like I had been crying a little bit, and then the very next day it was nearly gone, and by day number 3 it was completely gone, and the healing process was very fast.
That's very typical.
It was very reassuring to me, and as I say, I've got to tell you, I love this. It's been a blessing for me so that I can go out and do the athletic things I enjoy and not have to sit there and do my makeup, which I just think is so silly. Mel, it was a really wonderful experience for me. It was really great. If anybody wants to contact you regarding information, they can call you at the Main Atraction.
That's right.
587 Main, M-A-N-E?
That's right.
Okay, that's great. And we're just about to wrap up this segment of the show. Mel, was there anything else that you wanted to throw into the mix?
Well, if anyone would like to come in, the consultations are complimentary.
Okay.
So you can come in. I would be happy to talk to you about the procedure and how it might enhance your looks.
And certainly if you want to talk to me about it, I'd be glad to talk about my experience, but I think you've seen probably more than you need to on this show. Coming up on our next segment, we're going to be interviewing somebody who may be a more traditional tattoo artist in the sense of the word. So stay tuned for that segment. Again, Melody, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you,
and we'll be
Maia.
back in just a minute.
All right, Jerrod, it's nice to meet you. We're here with Jerrod Eisenberg at Ace's Tattoo down in Reno. And Jerrod, you've been doing this for how long?
Almost 3 years now.
3 years. Do you draw your own art before you put it on? Or?
Sometimes I do custom stuff. Other times it's the stuff on the walls, flash stuff. I'd rather do custom stuff. I mean, as far as my own stuff, but that stuff makes you money and stuff. That's what people like, so you do a lot of that stuff too.
So sometimes they come in and they just see a design on the wall and say, I want that one.
Right, yeah.
It seems that tattooing has become more popular now. It's more mainstream.
Oh, yeah.
How many people a week do you see coming in your parlor?
I don't know. That's kind of a... It's off and on. I mean, during winter time, it's a lot slower. Right now, it's really packed. I do like maybe 4 to 5 tattoos a day.
Wow.
Sometimes on weekends, maybe like 7 or 8. So it's rather busy. Yeah, I think it's due to a lot of the MTV type things and rock stars with tattoos and whatnot.
What's the most unusual request you've gotten, Jerrod?
Oh, I've got some pretty bad requests. Like males wanting to get their privates tattooed and stuff, which I won't do. I probably wouldn't even do females' privates if they asked me.
You have to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you've got a number of tattoos yourself.
Yeah.
Did you do these yourself, or did you
No.
have somebody else do them?
Yeah, I've had other people do them. People from LA, San Francisco, Santa Cruz, people from everywhere, pretty much.
Your neck. How painful is that?
It's pretty painful.
It looks like it.
This was actually not too bad though, because it was over so quickly. It was like, thank God it was.
Not too much screaming.
Yeah.
What kind of designs are real popular right now with people? What are you seeing a lot of?
Tribal stuff's real popular. That's just like black design stuff. Like it's just like kind of like it all originates from Borneo and stuff, but they just have like a twist on it now. There's a lot of that stuff out there on the walls. Tribal's real popular. Names, of course.
And
names.
do you get requests for people to come in and take the names back off?
Oh yeah, all the time. And every time I do a name, I ask the people, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And they're always sure, and then I do it. And luckily, I haven't had to cover up any of my own that I've done yet. So
You take off other people's
yeah.
names. And now, what's the legal age in Nevada for getting a tattoo? Is it 18?
It is 18. We, however, do tattoo minors with parental consent. If the parents come in, both parents with the birth certificate, and they both sign the waiver and stuff, then we'll do it on underage kids. But there's definitely a limit to it. It's like I won't tattoo an underage kid. I won't do like his forearms, nothing. If he wants like his last name or something within boundaries, you know, I'll do it like on his arm or on his back or something. But nothing. It'll, you know, go down here or anything
Something
crazy.
he's going to have to live with.
Yeah, right.
the rest of
And
his
at
life.
16 or before you're 18 at least, you're not really too sure on what you want. So yeah, we do minors, but I definitely have a like line that I won't do certain things. I mean, I won't do like a skull head on a 16-year-old kid or something. It's like something that's, you know, their parents won't flip out on or something, you know, or their teachers won't flip out on, or you know, something really low key. I do minors, but nothing like I have. Nothing I won't like cover
Well,
a kid
since
up.
you wear a number of tattoos, now that tattooing has become a little more mainstream, are you finding it easier or harder or the same to sort of walk around the streets? Do you still have people pointing at you and saying, wow, look at all those tattoos? Or
Well, I mean, there's people that draw a lot more attention to them just from the way they look. I mean, like their hair, or people with piercings or whatever. They're, you know, I have my share of people looking at me and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of bad. I've got pulled over like twice this year by police and searched and put on the ground.
So there is still
because
a
I've had
stigma.
tattoos, not because I did anything wrong at all, but I matched the description of like a burglar or something. they're really always nice and they apologize. And
Jerrod, I would
whatever.
think you'd be easily identifiable with these tattoos.
Yeah.
So there is still somewhat of a stigma.
Yeah, I
you
think
think
there
it's getting
is.
easier, or
It is getting easier, definitely. But still, I mean, I've never had those kind of problems before I had all these tattoos. But,
do you see a lot of women come in, Jerrod?
oh yeah, a lot. That's at least probably a little more than half of my clientele is female. Yeah, girls are really into getting tattoos now. Real staple places on their lower back. Do a
And
lot
what
of that.
kind of designs are they asking for?
Usually the same stuff, tribal. A lot of tribal on the lower back. It's like real staple girl tattoos. Flowers, stuff like that. Yeah, but I think it's good. Girls should get tattoos, definitely.
So you advocate tattoos?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can see that.
Have to.
Yeah.
That's my job.
Well, Jerrod, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks a lot for having us in your
Anytime.
shop. All right.
Anytime.
Again, Jerrod Eisenberg down at Aces in Reno. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again for joining us today on Truckee Talks, and I'd like to thank both of our guests for being on our show on body art. Why not? We'd like to thank you for joining us on Truckee Talks and remind you that we're taking a couple of months off this summer while we relocate to our new and expanded studios. That's going to be very exciting. Please stay tuned for our favorite shows as reruns during the summer, and we'll be bringing you a new Truckee Talks in September. We'll see you then. Thanks again for joining us.
Hey, Rex.
Yes, Bart.
I think we need to have a party.
You mean like a hoedown?
Well, no, I mean more like a soiree.
You mean like balloons and hats?
Yep,
streamers?
that's exactly what I mean.
How are we going to do that?
For all your party supplies, it's Event Masters, your one-stop party shop.
Sure is fun, isn't it, Rex?
Yep. Could use a few more people, though.
Event Masters, you bring the people, we'll bring everything else.
Westar's name is quietly changing.